monster is a distinctive creature. It may be terrifying, deadly, or just a bit bad. Threatening, or just plain weird. A monster is whatever gives us a serious case of the creeps, whether it lives only in the human mind or stalks a nearby neighborhood. But what makes a monster a monster? To some of us, an animal may seem monstrous, to others just magnificent. The very features that startle and scare us are also the most fascinating. Like the oversized eyes of the aye-aye. Its human neighbors in Madagascar believe that if an aye-aye points its wizened middle finger at you, a horrible death will soon follow. The world's largest millipede runs slightly longer than the magazine you'd want to hit it with. Some monsters are rare or imaginary beasts, lurking in a peaceful lake or loch. While elsewhere, ferocious animals make monsters of themselves on a daily basis. Among those that must seem monstrous to their prey are changelings, like the chameleon, whose projectile tongue makes suckers of its prey with deadly accuracy. The lion's mane jellyfish has tentacles that could cover a parking lot. Any tentacle with its network of stinging cells can be fired into a target with devastating effect. Then there are the artful poisoners, like the pufferfish, whose poison can easily kill a human. Yet its flesh is considered a delicacy in Japan, proving that one man's poison is another man's meat. The poison arrow frog secretes the deadliest of all known animal venom. The tiniest drop from its skin causes paralysis and then death within seconds. Some monsters are less conspicuous, like the microscopic dust mites that live in our carpets. They thrive on such tasty morsels as dead skin. Whether an animal seems like a monster depends on how large it looms in our own imagination. A spider may still be a wondrous creature to a child, while for some people they spell terror, even at their tiniest. And the smallest spider on Earth is tinier than the tip of a pencil. It's the bigger spiders that strike more of us as monstrous. The tarantula, an arachnophobe's nightmare. And its cousin, the bird-eating spider, which sheds its hair when threatened. The hair triggers an allergic reaction in its prey, and things can get pretty hairy, considering this arachnid can be as big as a dinner plate. But our reaction to spiders may be all in our heads. In the 18th century in southern Europe, a frenzied dance was created in the tarantula's name, the tarantella. A bite victim would perform the dance at once to try and flush the venom from the body. The dance may have provided distraction from the pain, but it was hardly necessary for survival, since the tarantula's bite cannot kill an adult human. The ingenuity of spiders can inspire. Web-weaving spiders are revered by the Navajo Indians, renowned weavers themselves. They once rubbed webs on the arms of their female babies in the hope that they would become tireless weavers. It's believed we aren't born with a fear of spiders. But someone else's fearful reaction may activate a remnant of primal terror carried deep in our subconscious. As early as 14,000 BC, strange figures appeared on cave walls in Europe. They could be the first monsters to emerge from the human mind, and were probably painted by clans of hunter-gatherers. Thousands of years later, the culture of classical Greece devised an entire menagerie of mythical monsters. There were ones with extra features, like Cerberus, who guarded the entrance to the underworld. The Minotaur, part bull, part human, imprisoned in a labyrinth on the island of Crete, was fed on the flesh of young men and maidens. And the writhing head of Medusa, to look into her eyes, would turn you to stone. In Greece, as in other cultures, these myths of strange beings were used to inspire and to inform, to distinguish between good and evil. The Mediterranean was home to imaginary monsters, and also a creature that strikes some as a real-life monster, the scorpion. The scorpion lives in hot, dry terrain. Its venom is carried in a sting at the tip of its tail. Definitely a means to an end. Scorpions have no jaws. They use two tiny pincers above their mouths to break up their prey and then suck out the victim's juices. The most poisonous scorpions are also among the smallest of their kind. The most lethal, the African fat-tailed scorpion, can easily kill a human. But among almost 1,500 known species of scorpion, only 50 are even dangerous. And some are not all bad. A mother carefully carries her babies on her back for 2 weeks. But if she's hungry, in true monster fashion, she's not averse to eating one or two. A scorpion can even survive a nuclear explosion. And radiation levels 200 times the lethal dose for a human. Through the ages, the human psyche has created enough monsters to populate the globe. Monsters were sighted in India and farther east. China had beasts and demons in numbers to rival those of Greek mythology. Panku emerged from the cosmic egg. When his moods turned monstrous, so did the weather. And there was Chan, the monster sea clam who breathed out vapors to form palaces in the clouds. Chinese travelers told of strange beings in strange lands. The people of Tingling Land were said to have hair down to their knees and hooves like horses. In Whispering Ear Land, there were people with ears that reached to their waists and stripes like tigers. Many a fictional fiend may have had its roots in nature. The vulture, infamous among scavengers, could have inspired the giant roc in the 7 Voyages of Sinbad. Hollywood transformed the gorilla into one of the greatest monsters in movie history, King Kong. Could it be that any animal can seem a monster, depending on your perspective? Even a scorpion can fall victim to a house cat. Or a reptile, anything that can move even faster than the scorpion's stinging tail. Among the reptiles, lizards come in a fantastic array of color. talent and features. The largest of all lizards is the length of a small car, but it pursues its victims with the determination of a tank. Its name is tailor-made for a monster, the Komodo dragon. Many residents of its home islands in Indonesia have died in its powerful jaws, as have goats and even water buffalo. Smaller lizards, too, have some nasty habits. The Gila monster of the American Southwest in Mexico carries enough venom to kill 2 adult humans. Small prey stand no chance. The venom is not injected. It seeps into the wound from the Gila's lower jaws. The lizard keeps a tight grip until the poison does its work. Some lizards have alarming looks, but lack temperaments to match. Australia's frilled lizard has no real offensive weapons, so if its elaborate bluff doesn't work, it can always make a run for it. The biggest reptiles ever to walk the earth had nothing to fear, nothing to rival them for size and strength. Even as extinct creatures, dinosaurs stalk some of our most entertaining nightmares. We are still learning to comprehend the huge bones they left behind. But it's been a long time since they were believed to be the remains of dragons. The word dragon comes from drakon, which means serpent. The belief in dragons endured for centuries, perhaps inspired by encounters with reptiles, snakes, or crocodiles. Almost every culture has mythical serpents. In Egypt, a serpent dragon named Pepi chased the sun across the sky each day. It was slain each night by champions of the sun god. Chopped into bits, the dragon reassembled at dawn, and the chase would begin again. A real animal may be behind the myth. A legless lizard, known as a glass snake, can shatter its own body into bits. The spare parts wiggle to distract its predator as the essential part of the lizard makes its escape. Many lizards can shed their tails in a pinch. And make a clean getaway. During the Middle Ages, travelers returned home to Europe with incredible tales of encounters with strange animals. According to one story, a soldier had slain a swamp monster in Palestine. A legend was born, St. George and the Dragon. A cult of the dragon sprang up. As symbols of evil, they found new homes in churches. And from ancient lore came the Christian bestiaries. The books featuring real and imagined animals were intended as moral lessons for the faithful. And there were gargoyles. These church carvings may have made recent converts from pagan religions feel more at home, or perhaps they were designed to make evil spirits feel less at home. Reptiles kept feeding the human imagination. When movie makers needed movie star monsters, they turned to living lizards, state-of-the-art effects for their time. While reptiles have often been cast as demons, humans have also created benevolent beasts. Chinese dragons were believed to control the weather, making rain for the crops. Chinese lions brought blessings and good luck. But it's the bad guys that really get to us. As if lizards weren't enough, the world of reptiles also boasts creatures that slither their way into many a phobia. Snakes, perhaps the most hypnotic of living monsters. Their locomotion looks impossible. Their renewal seems improbable. And some can kill with a single bite. No wonder they inspired pagan worship. Perhaps it wasn't the snake's flickering tongue that gave rise to the belief that dragons breathe fire. A snake's bite can certainly burn like fire. We have reason to fear them. Snakes kill 30,000 to 40,000 people each year, with the highest death toll in India. It's home to the king cobra, the largest of all venomous snakes. There are thousands of harmless snakes, but others seem to have been designed to set us squirming. The largest recorded python was longer than an 18-wheeler truck. But the most dangerous snake in the world is the saw-scaled viper. Its territory ranges from North Africa to India, and it carries enough venom to kill 8 human beings. Small but aggressive, it kills more people than any other snake. The poison from a venomous snake travels through hollow fangs straight into the victim's flesh. Only antivenoms created from a snake's own poison can combat a deadly bite. In many countries, help cannot be reached in time. Snakes like the python kill with a steady squeeze. They crush the life out of their victims before unhinging their jaws to feed. An unlucky parrot stands no chance against a python's massive muscles. But even reptiles have their enemies. One of the most feared predators is a menacing hybrid, half dog, half cat, like something out of mythology, but real. The hyena, known for its eerie laughter and eyes that glow with reflected light. Witches ride hyenas, it's said in Africa, and fuel their torches with hyena butter. The animals do produce a kind of pungent oil which they use to mark their territory. In hyena society, the female is the leader of the pack. Of the 4 hyena species, the spotted is the most aggressive. If a spotted hyena produces 2 females in the same litter, they will attack each other immediately. A hyena's jaw is capable of crushing the bones of prey larger than a human. They even consume the bones, which bleach the hyena's droppings white. The scavenger's cries punctuate the night. Is it any wonder we're still afraid of the dark? A researcher who studied children's fear of monsters found that in virtually every culture, girls are afraid there's a beast under the bed. But boys are convinced the monster is at the window. The difference may be an evolutionary hangover. It's believed that primitive females were more likely to roost in trees, so they feared what came from below, while males on the ground may have worried about sneak attacks from the side. One notorious mammal specializes in sneak attacks. The vampire bat makes a small incision in the skin of its unwitting donors, often sleeping cattle, and then licks up the blood that oozes from the wound. It shares its blood-curdling habits with the most famous of imaginary monsters, Dracula, part vampire bat, part human. The inspiration for Dracula came from the monstrous acts of a real-life human, the 15th century Romanian ruler, Vlad the Impaler. He was a cruel and ruthless dictator, reputed to have consumed his victims' flesh and blood. Many cultures have vampires of their own. A Chinese vampire can kill with its poisonous breath, but should it encounter a pile of rice, the vampire must count every grain before it can pass. Something in us clearly loves a monster, but then things are not always what they seem. The most famous photograph of Scotland's Loch Ness Monster proved to be a hoax, but there are claims of something similar cruising North American shores in the Chesapeake Bay and Lake Champlain. There may be better evidence of sea monsters the deeper we go, beyond the lakes and into the sea. Home of the sea nettle jellyfish, the ornate frills covering its body are complex mouths which satisfy its voracious appetite for plankton. Even fish have some bizarre features, like the anglerfish, which uses a lure on its head to tempt prey. Whales, such mysterious giants, were long believed to be sea monsters. The strange shark known as megamouth was only discovered in 1976. With the ocean's vast resources, it would hardly be surprising if the unexplored depths concealed yet more ancient monsters. What are the chances of finding a living relic on dry land? One legendary beast seems to cross international boundaries on foot. Nepal's Yeti, America's Bigfoot, Australia's Yowie all have features in common: a tall primate's physique, 2 legs, long shaggy hair, and an unfortunate tendency to run away. Fiction or fact? Believers like to remind skeptics that the mountain gorilla, the world's largest known primate, remained undiscovered until the early 1900s. Of all the animals we have come to fear, which is the greatest monster of all time? The shark? The great white shark enjoys a death-dealing reputation that far outweighs its actual record. Attacks by all species of shark only account for 50 deaths a year. What about the grizzly bear? Actually, it's not so grisly, inflicting about 3 deaths a year. No, if death toll is the measure, the greatest monster of all time is the tiny mosquito. The malaria it can spread still kills, on average, 1 person every 10 seconds, mostly in Africa. This single illness is responsible for half of all human deaths since the Stone Age. Some scientists predict that our greatest future enemies will also be tiny, new viruses and bacteria with the potential to spread in epidemic proportions. Danger is lurking everywhere. In real life, the hunter becomes the hunted, and we remain haunted. Our insatiable appetite for terror compels us to conjure up even more alarming monsters, whether derived from human parts or from other worlds. Some of the aliens of science fiction look remarkably like us, but then some don't. Is it all fiction? A creature known as the chupacabra is said to be living off the blood of animals in Central America. Some say chupacabras were the pets of aliens who left no instructions for their care and feeding. We continue our love-hate relationship with monsters. Even as we shudder and squirm, we can't turn away. As long as evolution continues, there will be other living monsters that seem huge, freakish, or impossibly fierce, as well as the ones that come to life only inside the strange landscape of the human mind. Birthplace of the ultimate monster.